Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my colleague, Forbes SportsMoney reporter Justin Birnbaum. Justin, thanks for coming on.
It's my pleasure, Brittany.
It's an exciting time in New York, especially in Queens, as the U.S. Open is officially underway, and one player is capturing the attention of fans around the world. Her name is Ons Jabeur. On Tuesday, the tennis star collected her first victory of the tournament. So I guess, obviously, the most logical question, the burning question on everyone's mind, is she going to win the U.S. Open?
It's certainly possible. She entered the tournament as the 5th highest ranked player, and getting off to a win on Tuesday was a really good start for her. She struggled a little bit. She seemed to have issues breathing and might have been sick the last few days, the commentators had said, and she had to be looked at by doctors. But ultimately, she pulled together, she got through, she got the victory. This early in the tournament, it's kind of a crapshoot. Her odds were about 25-1, depends on the bookmaker, but it's pretty early to tell, but obviously she's hopeful that she'll get to victory there.
Why do you think she has become such a fan favorite?
The passion and charisma she plays with. I mean, when you watch her play, you can just see how much she loves it. And also, you know, she's a good quote, she's charismatic, she connects with fans. She also has a great sense of humor too. Like after the match on Tuesday, which happened to be a day after her 29th birthday, they brought up the birthday thing, and she she mentioned, I guess I'm old now, so that's why I must not be playing well. But also, she's extremely open and emotional and vulnerable. When she lost at Wimbledon earlier this year, which was probably the toughest loss of her career, she was crying during the post-game interview and really just expressing emotion. And I think that connects to a lot of people. Also, you think about where she comes from and how she got here. She comes from Tunisia, which, obviously when she was coming up was not a place really known for producing tennis stars. She's spoken about having to practice on hotel courts, or also, not really having equipment or things like that. Eventually, she moved to a new city, the capital of the country, to train and go to school at a nationally sponsored high school for up-and-coming athletes, and then she had to go train in Europe as well. I mean, when she was playing juniors and also kind of in the early parts of her pro career, money was a little bit of an issue. She had to figure out ways to pay her for her training and coaches, and sometimes she had to ask her family for that, and she called it, when I spoke to her, GoFundMe Family Edition. But obviously, she's since broken through and is a lot more successful and seems to be on the up and up.
When you're a fan favorite, there's obviously a lot of expectations on you as a pro athlete. I wouldn't know. Haven't graduated aside from Forbes softball, so that's my only experience there. But can you talk a little bit about these expectations that are on her as an athlete?
So, because of her background, she means a lot to a lot of different people, and those expectations are different than some of the other players you'd see on tour. When she won the Madrid Open in 2022, she became the first African woman or Arab woman to win a WTA 1000 event. To this day, no African woman or Arab of any gender has hoisted one of tennis's 4 Grand Slam trophies. And she's been on the precipice of doing that, and ultimately what's happened here is she's become the face of North Africa, the face of the Middle East, a folk hero and role model to Arab women, a role model to women all around the world. And, she's proud of that. She has said she wants to inspire people to go for their dreams in whatever discipline it is. But ultimately, it is a lot of pressure to, carry that, to carry a country, a continent, a region, an ethnicity. So, a lot comes with that. But so far, it seems like she's kept her head on her shoulders and found a way to put it in perspective. And obviously, she's still pushing towards that goal.
Can we talk about that a little further and maybe go to the 30,000-foot view here, and why are Grand Slams so important, especially for visibility? Yeah,
so these are the most prominent events in tennis. They carry huge paydays, huge sponsor interest, huge fan interest. There are people who are more casual into tennis as fans, but check in for these events. My colleague Brett Knight did a great piece breaking down by the numbers of the U.S. Open. And for example, the U.S. Open has 24 sponsors, which include like Rolex and Cadillac, and also last year turned $472 million in revenue. So there's a lot of money flowing here. And ultimately, sponsors on the endorsement side zoom in on this. They see the visibility here, and they want to be associated with the players that do well in these events and ultimately win these events. And one thing about Jabeur is that she's played in 3 of the last 5 Grand Slam finals. Obviously, she went to the U.S. Open final last year. She's been in the last 2 Wimbledon finals. So she is someone who is at the forefront of women's tennis right now. And I think brands are starting to recognize that. I think her existing brands are kind of reaping the rewards of that already, and ultimately, like, you see these brands, they want to be associated with Grand Slam champions.
Let's talk a little bit about off-court interests here. For Forbes, you wrote a piece about Jabeur, and it was titled this: Tunisian tennis star Ons Jabeur has a strong game plan for winning off the court. In that piece, you talk about her evolution of her off-court interests, and how has that changed throughout her really meteoric rise?
So, Jabeur was already one of the highest paid female athletes on the planet. When we last did our list of the highest paid female athletes in December of 2022, she ranked 15th with $6.5 million in total earnings before taxes and agents' fees, and $1.5 million of that came from her off-court stuff. Anytime an athlete is earning seven figures off the court, off the field, whatever sport it may be, it's extremely impressive. It's a hard thing to do, and not many athletes, by and large, can do it. You really only see that with the cream of the crop. But with what she's been able to accomplish on the court, and being able to appear in these Grand Slam finals and ultimately chase that goal and get a high world ranking, the feeling has become that there's a higher level to reach here. And for any athlete, it's their responsibility to capitalize on what they can during their careers. Their careers are not very long in the scheme of things. You never know when it's going to end, whether it's for injury or another reason. So in January, she switched up her management. She brought in former tennis umpire and sports exec Adela Ref as her manager, and he had also been a longtime advisor to her. And she signed with Evolve, which is an agency founded by Naomi Osaka and her longtime agent Stuart Duguid. And the plan there was to really, expand on the deal she has already. She's got a few endorsements, one with apparel provider Lotto, automotive brand Haval, and then equipment manufacturer Wilson. And, they have plans to roll out a number of new deals by the start of next year. Not exactly, it's something they're working on. But also, her visibility has grown too. She appeared in Netflix's Breakpoint documentary series, which is from the producers of Drive to Survive, which is the F1 one that has become incredibly popular here in the U.S. And also, she took a stake in the NWSL's North Carolina Courage, which is the women's soccer league. Naomi Osaka had previously invested in that team as well. One thing, Jabeur joked in the story was when Naomi first invested in that, she asked if she could play striker. So that's just her sense of humor coming back to it. But ultimately, it seems like she's starting to really look at, what she's doing off the court in her career and how that could affect her post-career life. Because, for the athletes that are super successful, especially in this sport, like Serena and Venus Williams, you can really, really create something special if you're able to capitalize on that. Ultimately, she's trying to do that now.
You said the phrase cream of the crop within the same sentence as Jabeur's name, and we also know that she survived her first match in the U.S. Open. What's next for Ons Jabeur, both on and off the court? Yeah,
so obviously, she's pursuing her goal of trying to win a major. Off the court, as I mentioned earlier, I know her representatives want to roll out a number of different deals, whether they're in new categories like insurance, banks, watches. There's a lot of potential there. Her star is on the rise, and obviously we saw her invest in the Courage. Who knows, there could be other opportunities like that in the future. But again, she's very passionate about the sport, passionate about being a role model. She wants to inspire. She wants to, to be a good face of the sport, a good face of the region, whether it's her country, her continent, her religion, or whatnot. I mean, there is a little kind of trickiness here. So obviously Duguid worked with Naomi Osaka, and when she first started out, they kind of had this strategy of going to Osaka's native Japan and working with brands there on a global level and then expanding to other global brands. That's kind of what they want to do with Jabeur, but there's kind of a different pace to it, a different blueprint. They want to start with brands in the region, eventually kind of work with brands in phase two, kind of beyond the region. And she's already doing that. But there are sensitivities. I mean, one thing a ref had told me is that, there are traditions and sensitivities in the region they want to be mindful of, especially when it comes to her character. Like Jabeur is a practicing Muslim, so she's not going to go out and endorse an alcohol brand, for example. But ultimately, first and foremost, she wants to win a Grand Slam, and she wants a #1 ranking, and those are her goals. The U.S. Open's a great opportunity to do it. We'll have to wait and see if she does, but that's where her head is at.
So as we sit here right now, you're telling me it's a good day to be Ons Jabeur.
Looks that way.
Justin Birnbaum, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Brittany.